center as at the initiation and at the facilitation of a collective action towards good water governance. So I will explain why we think of a good, why we think of a collective action and why we see the regulators in that space. First, as a clarification, when I speak about regulating bodies, it goes beyond the independent water regulators that we know. So many other institutions like ministries or authorities also play regulating functions. So we also consider them in those regulating bodies. I will not go through the repetition of how important water scarcity is in the MENA region, but I think it is very important to frame that a lot is at stake in this region. As it's explained here, 61% of the population under high or very high water stress, same for 71% of the GDP, so we are under very high water stress compared to the world numbers that are below. It's also, I think, important to repeat that the region lives beyond its means, beyond its natural water capital. And so that also here aquifers and ecosystems are at stake for the future generation, that there is a huge problem that is ticking here. So all the bars that you see below the horizontal line are water that are withdrawn in an unsustainable way, groundwater that will not be recharged. So another conclusion from the numbers that are coming here are from the World Bank report, and the perspectives are not so glooming. Sorry. The perspectives are that in 2050 there is between 6 and 40% of GDP percentage that is at risk, and that can be hardly affected by climate change. So those are very cold and hard numbers, but I think they place really the scene of what we are talking about when we talk about groundwater, that we are under high scarcity. When the conditions are dire and hard as we can see them here, good governance is crucial and is very important. So when you don't have the luxury of water, you need to be very rigorous in your governance. And unfortunately, this is not the case in the region. The World Bank concluded for quite important governance challenges. It goes from undervalued water, it goes through inadequate and weak governance arrangement, weak enforcement of policies and strategies of the rule of law, difficulties in institutional coordinations, and also very important, a failure to create incentives that signals this extreme water scarcity, failure to promote water conservation. So this is the conclusion of this World Bank report. So next to the fact that the physical conditions are hard, the governance enabling environment is also very difficult. So I would like now to focus on this governance and share with you the conclusions of our capacity building program that we implemented between 2014 and 2017. It's a program that we implemented under the auspices of the Union for the Mediterranean, with the different partners that you see here and in the 5 pilot countries that are mentioned there. And why am I talking suddenly about water integrity? Because for Siwi, water integrity is the core, is at the heart of good water governance. And when we talk about water integrity, we talk about adherence of stakeholders, be it in the water resource management, in the groundwater management, or in the water supply and the water services provision. It's about the adherence to good governance principles, transparency, accountability, participation of stakeholders, other actors also add to this anti-corruption. So those good governance principles are at the core of effective good governance, I would say. And as part of this regional program, we started with a water integrity risk assessment. So where are the risks in anti-corruption, in transparency, accountability, and participation? And we came with some conclusions that, first of all, in 2014, the subject of water integrity, of anti-corruption, was quite, water integrity as such was quite new. And when we brought it on the table, it was sensitive. So, but the situation changed from between 2014 and 2017. We also concluded that in fact there was no baseline data on corruption. So the countries were not able to tell us how well or how bad they are doing in their efforts, in their anti-corruption efforts, in their water integrity efforts. We noted definitely a lack of transparency and access to public information, and then also poor accountability mechanisms. We noted a governance that was, in some countries, very much based on patronage, nepotism, and then that was in favor of a ruling elite, and where excessive regulations, which is the ground for corruption, was also a barrier for private sector development. All this can be found in one of the publications that we produced during this program. I will put the link at the end of my presentation so you can easily download it. So now your question is probably, yes, but what did you do? Now that we know the hard context, what did you do? So as I said, the subject was quite new in 2014, and we didn't find, like in Egypt you did, but in the countries where we didn't find institutions that were interested, where CEOs of institutions were coming to us saying, well, we would like to work on this water integrity. So what we did, we launched an open call, an expression of interest. Who, as individual, is interested to work and to build its own capacity as an individual in water integrity? And we selected a large number of people, and during those 4 years, 450 people were trained on water integrity. They were trained in identifying the water integrity risks. Where is corruption? Where do we have problems of accountability and transparency? They were able to transpose those risks into actions, and they developed their own individual water integrity action plan that they were supposed to roll out in their home institutions. And the rolling out of these individual action plans were mentored by the program. So if they had a problem, they could come to us for advice. We were following them closely. And by doing so, in fact, we were planting some seeds, some water integrity seeds in the region. And now those seeds start to germ and start to produce results. As you can see here, out of those 450 persons, 103 action plans were enforced and produced results in the region. I will just show you 5 of them, one in each country. So I can also show you the 98 other ones, but I only selected 5 ones. Well, for example, in Tunisia, the SONED, which is the public water supplier all over the country, reduced favoritism in access to water thanks to the use of a mobile app. So they introduced the use of this app, and that could help reduce non-revenue water and increased consumer satisfaction. In Morocco, 2 river basin organizations improved their stakeholder commitment to integrated groundwater management, and that reduced the groundwater abstraction. In Lebanon, you have four alumni who joined together into one action plan, and they were able, in the South Lebanon water establishment, to reduce illegal connection and non-revenue water in a pilot area. In the Palestine Water Authority is now strengthening recruitment procedures, increasing the quality of the recruited candidates. And in Jordan, the Water Authority of Jordan enhanced the internal audit capacity of the authority, and as a result, there is a decrease in corruption complaints. So those are very concrete results from individuals taking the lead to implement their own action plans. But so, as I said, I can provide you with 98 other ones. All those have also been published in one document, so if you want to read them, you can have access to them. So the conclusion of this program was that, in fact, working on water integrity, on the accountability, on the participation, on the transparency, definitely is one of the solutions to non-revenue water problems that you might experience. Water integrity can be considered as a key to sustainable management of groundwater tables and of service provision. So you see that water integrity can be applied both in water resources management and in service provision. We, with great pleasure, experienced a strong commitment from those individuals in the implementation of their individual action plans. And thanks to those seeds and plants that are now germing within those institutions, we receive a greater interest from institutions in the region, both water resources management but also in service provision, to work on that and requesting capacity building in water integrity. But so far, still no national agenda on water governance, because you feel me coming. I think now it's time to scale up this activity. We have those plants and seeds that are germing. They need to grow and they need to work together. So for us, there is, I think, a big potential for national collective actions in the region to address corruption, to make a big step into good water governance. But why am I talking about collective action? In fact, because there is a change in paradigm on addressing corruption. The previous paradigm was the principal agent paradigm, where it was supposed that the CEO of a company was a fully integer person and that he was delegating the responsibility of integrity to his agents. Another starting point was that humans are self-interested and that it was sufficient to address corruption by providing a certain fear of being punished, and that this fear of being punished must be greater than the benefit of corruption in order to reduce corruption. In fact, that starting point is not completely correct. After many academic papers being published about that, the academic world is now much more evolving towards the need for a collective action, where we need to look at the collective behavior change, that corruption will disappear when we will have achieved a critical mass of persons saying, well, corruption is not the norm, must be reduced and is from now on not acceptable anymore. In fact, behavior science tells us that humans are, okay, self-interest, yes, but they are even more interested in contributing to a collective good. But there is a warning that there are they want to enjoy this collective good, the collective benefits, they are willing to contribute to a common good, only if they trust that the others are doing the same. So we need to build this trust. If we don't have this trust, then they go back to being self-interest. And once we will have achieved that, we will be able to have very professional institutions that can serve their citizens in an impartial way. So you see, there is some work to do at national level, and there is some work to do at institutional level. So this is my conclusion. If we want to evolve from one situation to an improved state, from one situation where there is poor governance and where unethical practices are the norm, towards an improved state where well, integrity is the norm and where good governance is in practice, well, then we have to go, from our perspective, through 3 different stages. First, the first stage is being saying, well, we want to express that we want this change. Then build our capacity so that we can do this change, and then finally do and really change as a collective. So I'm here thinking in terms of collective. So this first, we want to change. There we talk about politics, about policy documents, about strategic documents, expressing a common vision on a desired water governance, where we build and we develop national water governance agendas and build water governance coalitions. The next step is when we have agreed in which direction we want to go, then we can start developing governance principles, standards and guidelines so that they can be rolled out. We can start by doing also water integrity risks assessment at national level and build the capacities of institutions to develop their action plans as institutions. In this stage, we see the regulating bodies as playing the most important role, where, of course, they will have they will still use the stick,